and welcome to this video. I hope you're all doing super well. So today guys, I am back with another Jewish cult video. Before I get into this video, I just wanted to make a little announcement. So going forward on my channel, I am now going to be doing a 50-50 content kind of ratio of like vlogs, standard videos that I've always done, but also of videos specifically about different types of cults. So I will be starting with Jewish cults and then evolve from there. So basically every other video or every 2 videos I will be putting out a video about a different like cult basically. I also need to make a little disclaimer guys before I enter this video. It's rare that I'd need to make a disclaimer, but in this video I will actually also be talking a little bit about Christianity. And I wanted to say that I do not want anyone to be offended by anything that may be said in this video. I will try to be, of course, as respectful as I can be, and just know, and I've always said it on my channel, that I respect every religion and every culture, and everyone is welcome on my channel. So please do not take anything at a kind of first level when I go into bits about Christianity. So now that's cleared up guys, we can get into today's video. So today we are going to be talking about quite a different cult actually, called Messianic Judaism, or otherwise also known as Jews for Jesus. So they go by these two, it's a cult that goes by these 2 terms really, because the term Messianic Judaism is more so used in Israel, and the term Jews for Jesus is a movement which is sort of more distinguished by that name in the US. So this cult guys, Messianic Judaism, also known as Jews for Jesus, or in Hebrew Yahadut Meshihit. Okay, so we've got 3 different terms going on there, all right? So basically this cult, and what it sort of stands for is, it is people who are of Jewish ethnicity, okay, but that believe in Jesus, and that is the kind of direction and of this cult. So essentially this is a cult that considers itself both Jewish and Christian at the same time, which there are cults that exist that have taken aspects of different religions and kind of made up their own religion, but this is very unique because it has taken aspects from both religions and combined them in a very different way. Now, Messianic Judaism in itself has been around for, I think, hundreds of years, but it really started to get propelled into the spotlight between the 1960s and 70s, and it then developed its sort of parent sister branch of Messianic Judaism called Jews for Jesus. Jews for Jesus was founded in 1973 in the US by Martin Rosen, also known as Moishi, and essentially this cult wanted to solely attract people who are of Jewish ethnicity. It didn't want to attract people of any other ethnic background, only Jews, but that want to follow a form of Christianity essentially. Now, as Jews, what is written in the Torah is that Jesus exists in the Torah and we know him as Yeshua. However, Jesus is not the Messiah in Judaism and the Torah. However, Jews for Jesus and Messianic Jews believe that Jesus is the Messiah and the Son of God, but they also want to maintain their sort of processes culturally as Jews. So they want to be Jewish and follow our traditions and cultures, but want to believe aspects of Christianity at the same time. In Judaism, as Jews, we don't believe in idolizing or idolatry, and things like the Holy Trinity for us in Judaism is something that we cannot accept, whereas this obviously exists in Christianity, and this is also what Messianic Jews or Jews for Jesus accept basically. Now, amongst the Christian community, I would say that Messianic Judaism is accepted as another kind of Christian movement, but in Judaism and amongst the Jewish community and Jewish denominations, there are no Jewish denominations, whether it's least strict to strictest, that accept Messianic Judaism as a form of Judaism. And even the fact they call themselves Messianic Jews, a lot of Jews find that disrespectful towards Judaism. In regards to the way Messianic Jews practice the religion, so they go to churches, but in regards to like the sort of hymns and songs that they do, they are done in English, generally not in Hebrew, and they are not the same hymns as Christians would sing in a church, because they bring elements culturally of Judaism and Jewish culture into the religious songs that they sing in the church. In Israel, Messianic Jews subsist. However, in regards to how they adapt and how they integrate and mix with, you know, Jews, I would say there is quite a division for some of the reasons that I've just explained, because of the different belief views, and that is quite a complex thing to understand in itself. Now, in regards to Israel itself and the government, I've mentioned this previously on my channel, there is something called the law of return in Israel, and what that means is people who are ethnically Jewish, so they're like myself, who have a parent or a grandparent that's Jewish, for example, have the right to go to Israel and request citizenship directly. And that is a right that we have, which is quite unusual in comparison with other countries. A lot of Jews that want this law of return, or in Hebrew we call it aliyah, and aliyah is law of return. Essentially, it's like we're returned, so we're returning to the country that we are supposed to have originated from, right? I'm not going to debate this, guys, in regards to have we originated from Israel or not, because there's so much controversy on it, and I'm not here to say that Israel belongs to Jews or whatever. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying that in regards to this law of return, it means that we would return to Israel and be granted automatic citizenship by the Israeli government because we're ethnically Jewish, essentially. So basically, this law of return caused a lot of controversy, because there was a point where, well, generally where it's not granted to Messianic Jews. Now, the issue with this is that Messianic Jews are often ethnically Jewish, because they call themselves Messianic Jews, so they're of Jewish ethnicity, but they're following Christianity, really. So ethnically they are Jewish. However, in Israel, to be granted citizenship under this law of return, you either have to be a Jew that's like secular, so you're not practicing but you're still Jewish, but you can't have converted or be following another religion. Like, I couldn't be following, I don't know, Hinduism or something like that. I have to still be Jewish, so I'm either not following Judaism but I'm still Jewish, or I'm following Judaism, essentially, to get this citizenship granted. So essentially, a lot of the higher courts, like rabbinical courts in Israel, we call them the Bet Din, okay, which is the Jewish law court. And the Jewish law courts, guys, there isn't one in every country. I can't say in the world, but like a high majority of countries in the world have Bet Dins. So Bet Dins are placed in, you know, all different cities. So like in the UK we have one in London, one in Manchester, and the Bet Din reside over legal matters like conversions, divorce, all these different things for us, right, within our religion. So in Israel, the higher Bet Din, which is the highest Jewish law court that exists, basically, said that Messianic Jews should not be granted citizenship under the law of return, because they essentially are following a different religion. Now, in Judaism, guys, it's very complex in comparison with a lot of other religions, because Jews, we can be ethnically Jewish, we can be religiously Jewish, and both ethnically and religiously Jewish. And in the Torah and the Halakha law, which is Jewish law, the bloodline comes through the mother, and to be considered Jewish at a high, like at the, you know, Orthodox level, I want to say, the bloodline has to come through the mother. However, in different denominations of Judaism, now it's acceptable that it comes through the father, or that the maternal grandparents are Jewish, etc. Like, for example, my maternal grandfather is Jewish, he's Ashkenazi Jewish, but my grandmother wasn't. So ethnically I'm considered Jewish, but religiously I'm not considered Jewish, which is why that's another video, but why I'm going to go through a conversion. This is why this law of return caused a lot of controversy, because these Messianic Jews wanted the citizenship and couldn't get it, even though they are ethnically Jewish and could prove it. They were not being accepted in regards to getting the citizenship via the Jewish law called the Bet Din and via the Israeli government, because they changed to a different religion. And Messianic Judaism for Jews and for the state of Israel is not considered part of Judaism, essentially. Now, the law of return, guys, just to give you like some little brackets here, don't know what they're called. I don't know how to say that in English. I was thinking of it in French, but just to give you a little background of the law of return, I would also say that it has been subject to debate for also, I think they're called the Black Israelites as well. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but there are also other kind of groups of Jews, I want to say, that are also not subject to be offered citizenship in Israel under the law of return as well. So there is a lot of debate around this law of return and how fair it is, and how things are looked at in regards to giving people citizenship that are ethnically Jewish. Now, unlike other cults, Jews for Jesus have not come into controversy or been under investigation by the law, etc., because legally they are not committing any criminal acts. They're very careful with how they conduct themselves. They're not abusing people, not hurting people physically or anything like that. So in comparison with other cults, I would say they function in a very mild manner. You wouldn't meet someone who's under the cult of Jews for Jesus that's going to be very rude or try and directly indoctrinate you to a very high level in comparison with other cults. A big difference for us as well, guys, in Judaism to Messianic Judaism or Jews for Jesus is that, as I mentioned, they have, Jesus as their Messiah, and we don't believe he's the Messiah. But also in regards to how the Torah was, how we received the Torah as Jews, is for us it was given by God, or we call him Hashem, to Moses on Mount Sinai. And for Messianic Jews, it's Jesus that reaffirmed the Torah, whereas for us that's not how the process happened, basically, biblically. Now, one thing that's very interesting, and I've heard Christians say this to me quite a few times, and this is where there's an overlap and confusion between Judaism and Christianity, and this actually comes about, guys, because of Messianic Judaism, that there is this confusion. So basically, in Judaism, our holy book is the Torah. We also sometimes refer to it as the Tanakh, and the Tanakh is the Torah, and then it has two other religious books in it. So you may hear Jews say both, okay, but our actual holy book initially is called the Torah, right? Now, sometimes some people refer to our holy book as the Hebrew Bible, and this is actually incorrect. And the reason for this is that Messianic Jews refer to their holy book as the Hebrew Bible or the New Testament. As Jews, guys, you will never hear a Jew say that our holy book is called the Hebrew Bible. And even though I'm ethnically Jewish and only started to follow Judaism in 2023, I have never ever referred to the Torah as the Hebrew Bible. I don't refer to it as that. I've never heard my family members ever say that. I have never come across any other Jews that refer to the Torah as the Hebrew Bible, and this is something that Messianic Jews developed, basically, because obviously they are taking elements of Judaism and of Christianity, and hence you have the Hebrew Bible. So that's where that controversy comes from. And I'll be honest, for me, it annoys me that people refer to our holy book, like there are people that know that our book is called the Torah and that's it, but there are people that still call the Torah the Hebrew Bible when that's Messianic Judaism, which is a cult and has nothing to do with Judaism at all. Someone that implies, guys, that calls our holy book the Hebrew Bible implies that it's just the Bible that's translated into Hebrew, when actually that's incorrect. Because I believe the Bible has got, the 5 books of Moses and the Torah does, people think, and I've met a lot of Christians that believe that it's exactly the same thing, but that the Bible's just been translated into Hebrew, which is absolutely incorrect. When you go through the different 5 books of the Torah, they do not match up with the New Testament or the Christian Bible. Now, as Jews, all Jews know, and I know this for certainty because all Jews are taught to know this, we are taught to know that the Torah does not match up with the Bible. This is why we are a different religion. However, a lot of Christians are not aware of what the differences are between our religions, and that it's not just a translation of the Bible that we're following, it's something completely different. And this is where the discrepancy of Messianic Judaism comes in and this Hebrew Bible. In Judaism, we have Shabbat every Friday at sunset or sundown, and then Shabbat finishes at sunset or sundown on the Saturday, and it is like this all year round, guys, all the time. Shabbat is every week, okay? So basically, when it's Shabbat as Jews, we will do Shabbat in our house, and you have like a Shabbat meal, or you attend a service in a synagogue either on the Friday or the Saturday. Now, this is not every Jew, guys, that goes to every synagogue service every Shabbat every week. Obviously, that's down to each individual's choice. I used to go every Friday, and then I started to go every Saturday, and then, as you guys know, if you've been on my channel a while, I'm under treatment for my anxiety disorder, so I put that on hold for the moment. But normally I always attend a Saturday Shabbat service every single week. So Messianic Jews, they also celebrate Shabbat, but they go to a kind of church to attend a church service on Shabbat, whereas Shabbat is something that is Jewish, hence it should be really done in a synagogue, not any other type of religious building. In regards to keeping kosher or the laws of kashrut, guys, which is something that any Jew that is practicing, even Jews that, we haven't had time to do our prayers or whatever, the basis for us of Judaism is to keep kosher, and that's in regards to the way we eat food, prepare food, and the types of food we eat. And this food is all overseen again by the Bet Din, or the Jewish law court. So it's very, I don't consider it strict, to be fair, but in compared to other dietary requirements that other religions have, most people would consider it relatively strict. Now, in regards to Judaism and keeping kosher, in regards to the more relaxed denominations, which are Reform, Liberal, Progressive, etc., they tend to not keep kosher. Maybe 1% of Jews in those denominations keep kosher. Conservative or Masorti Judaism, Masorti means traditional, which is the type I follow, we all tend to keep kosher generally, and Orthodox and ultra-Orthodox Jews always keep kosher. That's how it is, okay? So with Messianic Jews, there is debate between them as to whether they should be keeping kosher or not, whereas in Judaism, we know that we should be keeping kosher. Even denominations that don't keep kosher, they still can't really disagree that, as Jews, we're supposed to keep kosher because it is written in the Torah. And as Jews, we all follow the scriptures of the Torah. Even those that don't practice them believe that, what is written in the Torah, that is, what is set out as our rules, basically. So a lot of Messianic Jews will avoid pork or shellfish because we don't have pork or shellfish under kosher laws or kashrut. But we all, as I said, guys, we have very strict dietary laws in regards to other products we consume, what we can and can't consume, not mixing meat and dairy together, or Sephardic Jews don't mix fish and dairy. So there are very, very specific rules that we follow, kosher rules that we follow, right? And Messianic Jews do not necessarily apply those same rules or, agree with the understanding of those rules, whereas any other Jew, even if they don't fully follow them, they understand the basis of those rules and why we're doing them. So that is quite a big difference between Judaism and Messianic Judaism. Now, the interesting thing as well is that Messianic Jews consider that you need to have, if it's like ethnically as well, you need to have a Jewish mother or father to be automatically considered a Messianic Jew, when actually that's something that's been taken from the Torah, and the bloodline is said to come through the mother. And in regards to the fact they agree you could have a Jewish father, that's something that's come from the sort of more liberal, progressive and reform denominations of Judaism. Actually, they came up with that, and then Messianic Judaism has lumped that in with the fact that the mother needs to be Jewish and put their own kind of thing together. But that is actually something that is in the Torah and comes directly from Judaism. And they consider that you can convert to Messianic Judaism, but you need to go through a conversion if you're not like Jewish through your mother or your father, basically, when actually that's something that comes from the Torah, not that comes from the Bible. So again, they're sort of mixing up Christianity and Judaism, and they do baptisms in Messianic Judaism, whereas for us in Judaism it's like Jewish conversion, like it's completely different. So in Judaism, when we go through a conversion or for other sort of points in our lives, we use something called a mikvah, which I always say on my channel is like a mini swimming pool, actually. And it's in a synagogue, right? It's not found elsewhere, it's in the synagogue. And you go in that when you do conversion or other important life parts of our life, basically. So in Messianic Judaism, they also use something called a mikvah, which I believe doesn't relate to the mikvah in Judaism, but they also call it a mikvah, which is like, a Jewish spiritual, sort of water pool, basically, where you go in there for religious purposes. So they also call it a mikvah in Messianic Judaism. Although this is something that's Jewish, it's not something that's Christian, and then they call it a baptism. You can see, guys, there's a lot of discrepancies because essentially they're taking elements of Judaism, elements of Christianity, and mixing everything together. But they still want to call themselves Jews, but they actually want to follow Christianity. And this is more controversial, I'd say, in regards to how the Jewish community views them as opposed to how anyone else views them, and why they're viewed as a cult. Because people say within the Jewish community that they want to draw Jews in, and they will accept people who aren't of Jewish descent, but their whole process is to draw Jews in, essentially, like that's the whole purpose of this, but get them to follow Christianity. So essentially, Christianity is a religion, that's fine, Judaism is a religion, but this Messianic Judaism, or Jews for Jesus, was essentially developed for, people could think it's for Jews who might have some other belief systems, but essentially this was developed to pull Jews away from Judaism and get them into Christianity by still calling them Messianic Jews, so they still feel that they have that attachment to Judaism and Jewish culture, but they can practice Christianity and still have the umbrella of being called a Jew, basically, like gaining the best of both worlds. But that's not how Judaism works. And in Israel, this is quite divisive. And as I said, guys, within the Jewish community, this is quite divisive because Messianic Jews are not considered Jews for the rest of the Jewish community or Jewish denominations, because for us they are trying to follow a form of Christianity, or essentially we consider them a cult. We don't even consider that a form of Christianity. So it's quite complex, and it's also like, I'd say for other Jews, it's also like a mark of disrespect. It's like, if you want to leave Judaism and you want to follow a religion, go and do it, but don't take the mark of Judaism and call yourself a Jew, but you still want to practice another religion. It's not like they're even saying, okay, they're ethnically Jewish and they're doing something else. It's like they are saying, we are Jews, but we are doing this. Now, there are people that can be of Jewish ethnicity and convert to another religion, in which case the person will say, I'm ethnically Jewish, but I'm following this religion, and like, for example, I'm a Christian, but I'm ethnically Jewish. That's different to saying, I'm a Messianic Jew, so I'm Jewish, and I'm following Messianic Judaism, which is not actually part of Judaism. So as I said already, guys, this is where there becomes a lot of issues with the rest of the Jewish community, and from the Jewish community's perspective, it's viewed as a cult. Actually, strangely enough, there was a synagogue I used to attend to, and I used to go to, and there was a free mini library on the way to the synagogue. So sometimes I used to stop off there, pick up books, and I also used to drop off books because I've got loads of books that I've just bought in the past year. So I dropped them off there. So one day when I was leaving the synagogue, I thought, oh, let me check the mini library. And then I was with another member of the congregation, and I wanted to show her, you know, the mini library. I was like, look, this is really interesting, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, in this mini library, right, there was a really odd book, and it was written in Hebrew. So I don't read and write Hebrew, which is something that I need to learn, but I don't read and write it. But I knew obviously it's written in Hebrew because I know how Hebrew looks. So I'd flicked through it before, and I found it quite odd. Like, the pictures were quite strange. It looked like something from like the 1970s, 1980s. Like, even the pictures on the front looked just really weird. So I just put it back down because obviously I don't read Hebrew anyway. So when I was walking with the member of the congregation and I showed her this, I picked up the book in there and I said, look at this book, like, it's really weird. And she actually reads and writes Hebrew and understands it quite a bit. So she picked it up and we started going through the book, and there were all these pictures which were like Christian pictures, but the book's in Hebrew. And then we looked, I think, at the back of the book, and on the first page, and there was something to do with Messianic Judaism, basically. Like, it didn't say that outright, but you could tell it was, you know, a book from Messianic Judaism. So anyway, guys, another thing that Messianic Jews will actually do, okay, is, and this is how you know it's a cult, is they will plant these free books. And by the way, the book said, the only thing it said in English is free book, yeah? So they will plant these books in like free mini libraries like this, or somewhere near a synagogue. So where I would go to this free mini library was like a 5-minute walk from the synagogue. I used to go past there every time. It's like you have to go past there to get to the synagogue, right? So the person who planted that book knew it's near a synagogue, knew there's Jewish people going to go past there, and they planted it there purposely because they want someone who's Jewish to pick it up, to read it, and follow Messianic Judaism. Now, when you go to a synagogue, guys, synagogues, the majority always have like libraries, and when you're part of that synagogue, like a member, you are allowed to take out the books. A bit like how you'd have a library in your area, basically. You can then take books from the library and then, you know, return them, basically, right? But the rabbi does not tell you, right, take this book, this book, this book, this book, and you must read it and you must do this. That's like your choice if you want to do that. Do you know what I mean? But basically, yeah, Messianic Jews will plant books, do things like this to draw Jews into Messianic Judaism because it is a cult. And it's like planting the seed, but making you think, oh, what's this book? Oh, I've just found this. No one's given it to me. I've just found it, interestingly enough, next to the synagogue. But yeah, that is one of the ways that they try to indoctrinate people into their cult. And a lot of people see Jews for Jesus in the US as just like, oh, it's something, you know, where there's Jewish people attend, they believe in Jesus, they're all smiley, all happy, they don't have any like real legal controversies, so they're not, you know, they're just another type of Christian, and they're just very like nice, kind people. But don't be fooled, guys, because their aim is to draw Jews into their cult, essentially. That is essentially what the aim of the cult is, so that as Jews, we are not following Judaism anymore. When I first discovered Jews for Jesus, guys, let me tell you, I used to think, oh, this is a really silly little movement. Like, they're Jewish, but they want to follow Christianity, but they want to call themselves Jews. But, you know, they're just doing all these silly things. But then when I started to see the darker side, where they plant these books and they try to do it in a subtle way so you don't feel indoctrinated, but then by reading this you're getting indoctrinated and then you leave Judaism, I realised, and a lot of Jews know now, that it is a ploy to draw us into their cult. And it's very, very dangerous. And although they say they accept people who are not Jewish and those people can convert, let me tell you, the aim of their cult is to draw Jews into it. That is what the aim of it is. Hence why it's called Jews for Jesus, or also Messianic Judaism. Now, in regards to Jews, guys, we are taught from a very young age, like culturally, it's not in the Torah, but culturally as Jews, if we come across another Jew in our life, that could be professionally, in our personal life, whatever, you know, randomly at the supermarket, if we discover another Jew on our journeys, basically, we are always supposed to have that loyalty to other Jews and to our community. Even if you've only known the person for 5 minutes, you owe them that loyalty. And that can be quite complex, because sometimes you might not be in agreement with someone, or might not necessarily like something that someone's doing, but we have to basically give people those loyalties, especially if it's someone that's older than you. You have to give them that loyalty. And even Jews, guys, who are just ethnically Jewish, not practicing or anything, know that this is how it works, because I was taught this from a very, very young age as a small child, right? So I knew when I grow up, this is how it's going to work when I go into my professional life or in my personal life. If I meet Jews, this is how I need to operate, and this is how it's going to work, right? And other Jews know this is how we work as well. So basically, with Messianic Judaism in Israel specifically, because of this, they have also taken that format. And how it is in Israel is, for example, if a Messianic Jew has a business and they want to recruit more people for the business and expand the business, they will tend to only recruit other Messianic Jews, not Jews like myself or Christians or Muslims or whatever. They will only recruit Messianic Jews for their business. So, although they believe that they are Jewish still, their loyalty is to other Messianic Jews. It's not to Jews like myself. And again, this is where there's that distinguishedness between our culture as Jews and the culture of Messianic Jews, which is completely different, because for us a Jew is a Jew and we owe them the loyalty, but Messianic Jews do not view it like that, and they will tend to only help other Messianic Jews, especially like professionally, where as well as Jews we will marry other Jews. They would marry other Messianic Jews, not Jews. They would marry other Messianic Jews. So it needs to be people who are in the same movement and cult and religion as they are, basically. So to be honest, as Jews, and majority of Jews don't understand why they still call themselves Jews when they don't have a loyalty to us as the Jewish community. And this is very controversial. And let me tell you guys, as I said, Jews who aren't even really religious or practicing always know that when you are Jewish, as I've said, your loyalty is to other Jews. It's irrelevant whether you practice or not. It's irrelevant whether the other person who's of Jewish ethnicity or not practices. It's that your loyalty is to them. And it's like an unwritten rule between Jews, and all Jews know this. Every single Jew, I think I've never met a Jew who doesn't know this is how it works between Jews, because this is how it works for us. So Messianic Jews essentially have not got that loyalty towards Jews in Judaism, and it's like almost like breaking someone's trust. And the fact that people outside of Judaism don't know that it's such a disrespect to call our Torah the Hebrew Bible, even though people might not know, you know, that we just call it the Torah. It's like you are referring to our book as the Hebrew Bible, and that's actually the holy book of a cult, basically. So it's like a massive insult to us as Jews. It's actually, I don't even want to say hurtful, it's just such a mark of disrespect, because that is not our holy book as Jews. Because Messianic Jews came up with the concept of the Hebrew Bible, this is what us as Jews we then have to answer about, like, oh yeah, no, it's not the same as Christianity, no, it's not the same as this, because Messianic Judaism was developed, and this is where we are the ones answering those questions. Messianic Jews aren't standing here answering the question of, oh yeah, the Hebrew Bible. It's Jews that have to answer these questions, and that frustrates a lot of Jews, guys. So it's like a movement that is quite annoying for us, more in the Jewish community than other communities who just view Jews for Jesus as, I don't know, some random thing that pops up on TV or something. For us, it's like, no, this is actually a cult, but it's harder for people who aren't Jewish to see that it's actually a cult. Essentially, guys, cults indoctrinate people and try to brainwash people, and the purpose of Messianic Judaism is to indoctrinate and brainwash essentially and solely Jews, because that is the purpose of the cult. They don't want to brainwash other people. They want to get Jews to leave Judaism, to follow something that isn't Judaism, but they want to portray it as part of Judaism and keep parts of it so that we will merge into Christianity, but that's still not Christianity, essentially. So it's like dangling a carrot, saying, oh, you can get this if you join us, but it's like leading us into a cult, essentially, which is very, very dangerous. And there have been actually reports, guys, from certain higher rabbis saying that Jews for Jesus and Messianic Judaism is actually a form of anti-Semitism. It's gone that far because higher rabbis consider it such a mark of disrespect to Judaism, what they are doing, because it's a cult, essentially. So this has been talked about a lot in the Jewish community, but I feel like outside of the Jewish community, people have still not potentially understood that Jews for Jesus and Messianic Judaism is essentially a cult. And because we've got Messianic Judaism on one side, which is generally what is termed as in Israel, and Jews for Jesus on the other, which is generally what is termed as in the US, people don't even put two and two together and understand this cult has got basically two names. It's the same thing, and the purpose of the cult is to draw Jews in solely to brainwash them. And as I said, guys, because they're not really committing, you know, high criminal acts or anything like a lot of other cults, people aren't, you know, that wary of them, which is actually very dangerous because, you know, it's serious to indoctrinate someone and brainwash them. Anyway, guys, I will leave this video here. Please feel free to leave any comments down below, suggestions for future videos as well, and I hope to see you very, very soon, of course, for another video.